What's up, everyone? Kevin Allen here, aka the Geek from DFS Army, and this is the Kill Shot MMA podcast. We're looking at UFC 284, Makhachev versus Volkanovski. And I've got the dream team together to break it all down. We're looking at Draftkings plays primarily, but we're doing a full card breakdown, fight by fight. With me, as always, Big Marley, the sleeveless one himself, rocking the 17-inch guns. And our newest contributor in the DFS Army MMA staff, MonkMMAtics, rocking a beard equal in impressiveness to Big Marley's guns. Not everybody can pull that off. Not everybody can pull it off. And we're taking a look at this card, Makhachev versus Volkanovski, an exciting card. And man, after last week's, takedown, as a matter of fact, where will be in the MMA championships. But I was going to say last week's kind of soft card from a name value perspective. This one's a little better, but still maybe a little bit less exciting than what I was expecting for a pay-per-view event. But nonetheless, we have some good cards on here. And let's jump right into it again. We're taking a look at these fights from a DraftKings fantasy perspective, but also just a general breakdown, betting, all that good stuff. So let's get it started, boys. Right off the bat, Zubaira Tukagov taking on Elves Brenner, newcomer, Elves Brenner. Tukagov coming in as a minus 500 favorite, with Elves Brenner coming back at plus 400. The fight inside the distance prop, a less than impressive plus 100, considering that there's a minus 500 favorite on this card. So Big Marley, stylistically, how do you see this one going down?
It does kind of look like a setup fight for Tukagov. He's Islam and Khabib's boy. He's a sucker punching little bitch, but he is in here making his debut at lightweight, which is kind of a big deal to me because he felt like he was a little too lazy to make 145 pounds rather than just too big. But I do think it's just a great matchup for him because he should have the wrestling edge and the striking edge. This Brenner guy, aka Oliveira on DraftKings, he just looks like a ground-only type of fighter to me. And I was only able to see one or two fights of his so far. And I just don't see the success he had in that fight happening against Tukagov. He's going to have to get takedowns on Tukagov, who has never been taken down in the UFC. And he's going to need to be in top control or get a submission off of his back because Tukagov is going to be the better striker, especially the first two rounds. He's going to have a lot more power as well. So the way I see this one going down is Tukagov either getting the takedowns himself or using his wrestling to keep it on the feet and winning the fight there. I think he gets a knockout or a unanimous decision, but I don't love him on DraftKings because he's $9,600. Monk will tell us about the $9,600 price tag, but if he's not wrestling and he's not getting the knockout, he just doesn't do enough minute to minute to pay off that $9,600 salary in a decision win. Even if he goes out there and lands 6 takedowns in this fight, he's still probably not doing enough work to score 115 points or something like that. So he needs an early knockout, in my opinion. And I would rather just pay less for someone else, to be honest with you. So I probably won't get too much of this curtain jerker in my personal lineups.
Monk, last week, I faded the $9,600 fighter on the card, right? Just full faded it. Went all in. Actually, great calls by both you and Big Marley. Core on the $9,300 guy who was only 33% owned, which was shocking for me as I had 90%. And again, it contributed to a very profitable day. How often does a $9,600 DraftKings fighter wind up in the nuts lineup? Is that frequent?
Actually, no, it's the opposite. I'm a big fade on the 9,600 as well. 96 has fought 6,600 17 times. That's it. It's not a very popular salary since 2021. 96 has only made it 3 times. And one of those times, I believe the first time was Vettori over Holland, and he had to put up like 153 to get on. So it has happened a couple of times. Just to kind of go with what Marley was saying, I completely agree here as far as DraftKings goes. He gave some great stats. Zubaira does not score well as a DraftKings player in his whole career. In his last 5, 2.46 points per minute. And only 83 per win in his 2 UFC wins. Over his 5 UFC wins, it's even worse. 75.9, 2.24 points a minute. This guy is way over his average salary, like almost $1,100 over his average salary. Now, I do think it's warranted. I think Marley's spot on. Tukagov should roll here against a newcomer short notice replacement Elvis Brenner. 6,600, has basically made it almost as many times as 9,600. So if you're just playing it like that, you might as well throw in a couple of Brenners. But I won't be doing that. I don't think he's going to win. I like Tukagov for cash, but generally 9,600 is just too expensive to make the optimal lineup.
Any concerns that Tukagov is moving up in weight class, from what I understand here, to 155? Is there like concerns that maybe he's just not going to look that big at that size? Like, he's 5'8", he's kind of small.
I would say there's definitely future concerns. I just don't know that they're going to come in this matchup unless Oliveira is able to actually get takedowns against a guy with 100% takedown defense.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
And I think Zubaira is just too much for this guy. It looks like a very shitty welcome to the UFC offer here from
never want anybody with a Gov at the end of their name in your debut.
You're like, sweet, I made it. Who am I fighting? A freaking OV? Come on,
OV,
bro.
that's a bad scene.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the second fight on this card. I really like this fight. Blake Builder taking on Shane Young. Shane Young, veteran. We've seen him a ton. I mean, Australia card. Got to have Shane Young on there, I guess. And he's taking on Blake Builder, also, I believe, a Australian of some sort. And this one comes with an inside the distance prop of plus 105. So again, not a very high inside the distance prop, and just a little basic knowledge of this one. But Shane Young, striker, can't really wrestle very much, and this other kid kind of seems like he's got some submission wins, lots of them on his record. So Big Marley, how do you see this one playing out stylistically? I think Big Marley's frozen. There he is.
Signs of
I'm over here trying to open other tabs and it's slowing me down. I like this fight as a whole because I think either guy could get a finish, and that's what I like about it, because I'd say if they get a finish at the mid-range pricing, they have a good chance at the optimal lineup. I give Young the striking edge and then Builder the grappling edge. My issue with Builder is just, I didn't love the competition he was facing, but he's very slick on the ground. He's got solid submissions, but he's just not the one wrestling to get the fight to the ground. He's either jumping on a back or he's getting a submission off the bottom. And I don't see Young wanting to initiate the takedowns here. And I do think Young has a pretty decent size advantage. Skill advantage on the feet. I've seen Builder dropped, I believe, 3 times on the regional scene. He fought through it. He ended up getting the wins, but Young has power. He's going to be in his home country here. The crowd's going to be behind him. I just think if he's able to drop him here, he might be able to actually pull off the finish and get the TKO. So that's what I picked. I picked Young by TKO. He's going to be my preferred play, but it'll be one of those where I would maybe start with Young in my lineup, fill out the rest, and then if I need the money, I'm fine going right down to Builder instead and making the same lineup with him in there, just because I like the fight as a whole. Not what I'm going to force into every lineup, because I don't think that either one of them has 100-point upside in a decision win, but I do like targeting the fight doesn't go to decision in this one.
I just want to point out here in the stat screen that Shane Young has a 56% career takedown defense, which Big Marley is not very good. And of course, Builder seems to be a guy that wins by submission a lot, Monk. So I don't know. I feel like this Builder guy might be the kryptonite for Shane Young.
Yeah, I agree. I'm probably going with the our alliterative friend here, Builder. There's 5 newcomers, UFC newcomers on the sheet. Newcomers, debutants, if you will, have a win rate of about 41%, not quite 41% in the UFC in the past 2 years. So Builder, Brenner's not one of them I'm picking. Builder is going to be one of the 2 guys that I'm pretty much picking to win as a debutant here. I don't have many stats for him. His DWCS fight did not score very, very well. He scored like 1.3 points per minute, which is basically 0. Didn't show any takedowns. Hardly any control time, but it was only a 3-minute fight here. Going up against UFC veteran, somebody who's literally fought the best of the best in Alex Volkanovski. You just had it on the screen there. I think Builder is not going to get him out of there in 3 minutes. So we're going to be able to see what this guy can do. I agree with you. I think he can get some takedowns. If he can, I think he has a decent road here at 7,900 to put up a good score. So especially if this goes 15 minutes, he can get 3-4 takedowns or something, maybe some control time, working some ground and pound. I don't see why the newcomer here can't, score 10, 11, 12x and make a case for optimal lineup. I'll probably have more ownership on the newcomer than I will Shane Young, just because he's also been off for like 2 years, guys. Young has not fought in almost 2 years, and he's very young. So I'd like to know, no pun intended. I'd like to know the reason exactly for being 29 years old and taking 2 years off. So I'm going to be on Builder for DraftKings.
Yeah, I totally agree. I like Builder's record too. 7-0. He's taking care of business. Obviously, the competition level not amazing, but he's taking care of business. So yeah, I'm on that side as well. It's funny that he's older than Shane Young because he's the newcomer, but he's older. But yeah, I like him.
Weird.
And Big Marley convinced me just a little bit there as well that Shane Young. Listen, you can't full fade Shane Young here because he's up against a debutant and he's got the power in his fists, and he can of course get a knockout. But that's the only reason you want to play Young. He does not score well on DraftKings generally. All right. Next up, my girl, Lookboomi, taking on Elise Reed. Lookboomi is a minus 275 favorite, and Elise Reed is coming back at plus 235. Fight goes the distance, minus 270. We are looking at a likely decision here. Big Marley, how do these two fighters stack up stylistically?
I would say they're both mainly strikers. Lookboomi has shown some more wrestling chops in her game lately, and for that reason, I just think she is the better fighter everywhere in this fight. If I were to give Elise Reed any advantages, it would maybe just be, one-shot power, but I'm not looking to load up on one-shot power for 115-pound females, so I will be fading Elise Reed for sure. I just don't see many paths to victory unless it's a real close fight and she just snags a split decision. But if that's the case, she probably scores 60 points or something like that, and it's still not going to cut it. So I will just X Elise Reed out of my player pool. And then Lookboomi's kind of the same. At 9K, I just can't really justify getting up to Lookboomi, and she's going to need to be landing takedowns in each round, I think, for her to have a chance at paying off 9K, especially if we're not going to get a finish in this fight, which I would guess that we don't. So I think Lookboomi can win this fight any way she wants. The worry would be that she just keeps it on the feet, wins 2 or 3 rounds in the striking. And if that's the case, she probably scores 60, 70 points also, will not make the optimal lineup. So I'm fine Xing her out. But I also do think she can have success for all 3 rounds. She will be low owned. So I don't completely hate her for just an ownership purpose play. If you're looking to get somebody low owned in that 9K range as a pivot off of Makachev or something. But give me a Lookboomi to make it pretty clear.
I don't even need to pull up the stats to know this. So I'm gonna throw it over to you, MonkMMAtics. But my girl Elise Reed is not a good wrestler. If you take her down, she has no idea what to do. What's her takedown defense looking like?
Her takedown defense is, right around the 50% mark, 9 of 18. Not very good at all. And for DraftKings, it's she's giving up, 1.78 points per minute in takedowns and control time. That is a ridiculously high number. I like this for cash. I think it's Lookboomi easily all the way. I don't have a problem with playing her in cash at 9K. Get a little bit of relief. Probably it should be an easy win. But I don't like it for GPP. She doesn't score 3 points a minute. She scores 83 per win. Elise Reed scores only 76 per win. The only issue is in her last 2 fights, or her last 2 losses, one was to Eubanks, in which she moved up weight class. She didn't really belong there. And then Sam Hughes, she's averaging giving up 117. So that is a concern for me. She has been KO'd twice, finished twice, I should say, KO TKO in those 2 fights. So that is a bit concerning. If there is a finish here, Lookboomi's probably going to do it. And if she does, it could score well just because Elise Reed just gives out points like it's Halloween. But that said, Lookboomi has never had a finish in the UFC. She's had 1 sub finish in her entire career. So I don't really see that happening. Hoping this goes to decision. Lookboomi scores 70 to 80 points, like Marley said. Reed, what is she going to do? Short of catching Lookboomi with a left hook and then just pounding her out and hoping the ref jumps on to stop it. I don't really see how she's going to win this one. So I'm going to be big fading this one in GPPs. Pretty much, for those reasons. It's one of the lowest fights I'm targeting here overall.
So it's interesting.
Has Lookboomi ever made the optimal lineup? I see she scored 95 and 91, but did either of those make it?
No, she has not made it, at least since, neither of those fights she has made it at all. And also I should mention the average value in the past 2 years that optimal lineup makers have is 13.35, which is 13x basically is what you have to score to get on optimal. Lookboomi would have to put up 120 to hit that 13.3x. I don't think she's going to be doing that. She's no Jailton Almeida. We'll just say that.
What's funny is the fight we were just watching in the background. She gets the takedown. She's got the back. She's got a rear naked choke sunk as deep as you could ever. But I don't know if that other lady's neck was really small or what was going on, because she could not get that finish.
Right.
She's just rolling around in the back. But I kind of have this sense that it's Luma time.
Mm-hmm.
It's her time. And she's 27 years old now. Listen, we saw a younger version. She gets better every time out. She has grappling. She's pretty good at it. Elise Reed, really bad at it. I'm using Luma on DraftKings this week. I'm going to play her. I don't love that it's 9K. Wish it was 8,600, a little bit like outside of the need 100 plus zone, but I'm using Luma a little bit here. She just has skill sets, and I really like her as a parlay piece at minus 275. I mean, even big Marley, your breakdown there, sounds super confident she's going to win the fight, and those are the ones that I like to use in these kind of parlays where they're really, I mean, what's the path to the win? You said Elise Reed knocking her out. Give me a break. She's better at striking than Elise Reed.
Yeah.
So I like this one a little bit. I like this one a little bit.
And she's usually much smaller than her opponents. This one, she's only given up 2 inches of height and no reach.
Oh, she is tiny, but yeah, the other one's tiny too. So there's no, there's no real concerns there. I like that a lot. All right, let's move on to fight number 4. Jack Jenkins taking on Don Shainis. Now, I don't know if I pronounced his last name right, but whatever. The fight ends inside the distance, is a lofty minus 214. So this is our first fight of the card that looks highly likely to end in a finish, and most of that likelihood is on Jack Jenkins. So Big Marley, how do you see this fight? Heavy favorite, Jack Jenkins, minus 345. How do you see this one playing out?
I think it's a setup fight for Jenkins. He's a pretty highly touted prospect out of Australia. He is a good striker, but on his one Contender Series fight, he had 4 takedowns, 11 minutes of top control time. It looked really good in top control in other fights as well. So I just think he's got a fully well-rounded game, and I don't know where Shainis is better than him. Maybe Shainis could have a little bit of first-round wrestling success, or he could land a big shot. Maybe he could bench press more. That would be the advantage I could give to Shainis. But if he's not getting an early first-round finish, I just see this going more into Jenkins' favor the longer the fight goes. And I think Jenkins gets a finish, whether it's on the feet or the ground, in the second or the third round. I just think it'll be a matter of time before he starts slowing Shainis down and putting some work on him. He's got great calf kicks, great body work. I just like this guy's game. So I think he can win this fight on the ground and score very well. And I think he'd get a knockout on the feet.
Is he a grappler? Is he going to go for takedowns?
I mean, you would think he was a grappler by looking at his Contender Series fight. He was fighting an actual grappler in that fight, and he wanted to keep it on the ground for 12 or for 11 minutes of the fight. And I've also seen him have a lot of solid wrestling, top control success in other fights as well. But I would say if you were going to say what he is, he's a striker.
I like it. MonkMMAtics, how do you see the numbers working out on this one?
I agree. I'm going, another alliterative newcomer is the second guy that I'm picking out of 5 this week. I'm going with Jack Jenkins. Don Shainis, went up against Sadiq Youssef, who you guys need to check out Sadiq Youssef's Twitter or Instagram or whatever he's putting out. Some of the best breakdowns we've ever seen in the game. But no, seriously though, Don Shainis, got finished in half of a minute. He got subbed in 30 seconds by Youssef. So you got to throw that You just got to throw that one out.
His whole record feels pretty fraudulent,
Look
MonkMMAtics.
down. That's what I'm going to get to. Do you see a name on there? His name is JLS.
Yeah, I see it. 16 and 104.
I think it's even worse than, but yeah, I guess if that's what Tapology, 16 and 104. Don Shainis has the worst strength of schedule I've seen in probably since Tresean Gore.
Like, how is he in the UFC?
I
How
have
did this
no
man?
idea. He's got another. He's just being fed
Short notice. Yusuf wanted to fight short notice. In Boston, I believe, something like that. They called him.
And now he's got another. Now he's going to make Jack Jenkins' name. And then he'll probably be out of the UFC, I would imagine. But his strength is his opponent's last five win rate is 33.5%. His overall strength of schedule, which is a decent number, is 70. He's at 42.5. Like, these are just terrible, terrible numbers. Like we said, he's fought Jay Ellis 4 fights ago, guys. 4 fights ago, he's fighting, one of the most memed fighters on the entire planet. Meanwhile, Jack Jenkins in his DWCS fight, almost 5 points a minute. He would have scored 117. He put up 2.8 points per minute in takedowns and control time, while also scoring above 2 points in striking. And if Marley's over here saying he's a striker, this guy's putting up 4 points, or however many I said, 4 points a minute, 3 points a minute in takedowns and control time as well. That's ridiculous. He also has a terrible strength of schedule, but it's double what Shainis' terrible strength of schedule is. So I'm going to be on Jack Jenkins all day. 9,300 is very expensive. Hopefully, I'm trying to think about what his ownership's going to be. It's probably going to be pretty high, especially, but like you said, we only had 33% with Nakamura last week.
Assume anything. Yeah. What are we assuming?
What's going to stop Jenkins from coming out here and subbing or finishing Shainis in the first 30 seconds to a minute, just like Sadiq did? So I'm going to have to play some Jenkins here. And at 9,300, I don't mind doing that as maybe a little pivot. I don't know how much I'm going to be pivoting off of Islam, but that can wait. But 9,300 is a decent salary I'll probably get to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to end up loving both guys, of course, but if you're going to tell me that Islam's going to be like 55% on, Jack Jenkins is going to be 30% on, just that right there would make me prefer Jack Jenkins over Islam.
I mean, plus Islam's up against the GOAT, and Jack Jenkins is up against the turd. Like,
Don, really don't call me Anus Shainis. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, this is the guy. This isn't even a discussion. Because the one guy should dominate his opponent potentially. The other one, 5 rounds of awesomeness, but we play them both.
Yep.
All right. Next up, Jamie Malarkey taking on Francisco Prado. Malarkey as a minus 255 favorite with the comeback on Prado of plus 230. Fight ends inside the distance, minus 170. All right. Big Marley. Malarkey versus Prado. How do you see it going down? How do these two fighters stack up?
So yeah, Prado looks like a striker, just a dangerous striker, big power, trying to knock his opponent's head off. He's never been to a decision. All 11 of his wins have come inside the distance, most of them in round 1 or 2. I do think he's very live for the knockout here because Malarkey's hittable and he's got a questionable chin. So Prado's going to be an underdog I want to be overweight on because he has 100-point upside. He's very cheap, and I'm not completely sold on Malarkey. I do think Malarkey's going to be the better wrestler here. He's solid on the feet. He's really shown improvements in his striking game over the years. But if he's going to keep this on the feet, he's going to be live to get knocked out at any minute. So I think it would be smart of Malarkey to look to wrestle. If he does, he has a high ceiling as well. I want some Malarkey, but I'm going to prefer the underdog here. Give me Prado to get an early knockout in this one. Test that weak chin of Malarkey's. And I don't know how many underdogs I'm picking on the card, but I think Prado will be one of my higher owned ones. But that's going to have me worried, though, because I could definitely see him just getting dominated. So I want to come back and have at least like 20% Malarkey on the other side as well. I think he has a path to 100 points as well. But I think it's a good spot for the underdog.
I like it. Monk, how do you see the numbers going here? And is this an underdog you're on as well? I mean, Malarkey's somebody that I like when he's an underdog, but he's not somebody I feel like I'm laying minus 275 chalk on ever. But I don't know too much about this kid Prado.
I'm not going to lay minus 270 chalk on Malarkey, like you said, ever. But I'm on the opposite side here. I think Malarkey rolls this dude. I don't think much of Prado. I could be wrong. We just saw this happen with Bruno Fajeda, Gregory Rodriguez. I just don't see it happening. Prado's strength of schedule is less than 60, which is really, really bad. Malarkey has been knocked down twice in his past 2 fights. One was to the ghost of Michael Johnson, but that dude can still crack. They say power is the last thing to go. So I'm on board with that. And the other one was to Jalen Turner, who is very much making his way towards the very top of the lightweight division. Ferris Ziem didn't knock him down, but that was a pretty close fight in which the stats say that Malarkey won with his 5 takedowns, but he did not get the decision nod in that one. Malarkey's DraftKings upside is crazy. 3.6 points a minute, 101 per win. When he does win, he's got over 1.1 points per minute in takedowns and control time. Scores a ton of points. He's only 8,700 this week. And the last thing I'll say is we've got a newcomer in Prado, which, as you know, 40% win rate. We've got a short notice replacement fighter in Prado, which has a 36% win rate. These trends are not good for these short notice newcomer fighters. I'm going Malarkey here. He's the one that has the UFC competition. He's the one that's going to, Prado's the one that has to prove why he belongs, not Malarkey. So I'm going Malarkey, probably first round finish here. I think he finishes Prado early. I'm going to be playing a ton of him on DraftKings this week.
Yeah,
he's made optimal lineup in 2 out of his past 4 fights.
Again, as an underdog, though.
Let's see. He was he was plus 108. Yeah. So against Worthy and then Smith. I just don't think. I think Malarkey should be 3-4 levels above this guy. It should be no problem.
I'm just going to point out one thing. I get the strength of schedule is crap, but this dude took care of business. Like, he did what was asked of him. First round finish, third round finish, second round finish, first, second, first. So, he's picking on.
This was in the Costa Rican regional scene, I believe.
I don't know where the Samurai Fight House is, but
yeah, right. I don't think anyone does.
It's no place good, but we got to give the kid a little bit of credit for the fact that he took care of business when given the opportunity. So I think you don't necessarily know. But with that being said, all that means for me is on DraftKings, very specifically, this guy's a first round finisher. So I'm going to have some underdog exposure to Prado. Do I think he's going to win? No. Again, I've rode the Malarkey bandwagon as an underdog quite a few times, but I don't know if I love him as a heavy favorite. But with Prado, that one punch, that early knockout power, he's 20 years old, could be getting better each time out. So this is one of those underdogs that will be on my list of players, of people that I'm willing to use this week. That's about the extent of it for me. And a reminder, you are watching the DFS Army Kill Shot UFC DraftKings Breakdown podcast. If you like what you're seeing, please smash that like button. Hit the subscribe for the channel. You got DFS content coming out on the regular here. So you got to be subscribed, get all that good stuff. And if you want to sign up for DFS Army and check out, get all our projections, get the cheat sheets from Big Marley, from MonkMMAtics, everything you need. Listen, I didn't do anything last week, guys. I just read your cheat sheets. Monk, Marley, Eric, read all the cheat sheets. Ticket to the MMA championships, just like that. So if you want to be a part of the team, get signed up. Promo code SLEEVELESS gets you 10% off. We've got an MMA only. We've got VIP that covers every sport. NASCAR going crazy. You know what? This past weekend, we had 100K NBA. We had a 50K NASCAR. We had a 10K NASCAR. We had a 10K MMA. We had a 38K. It was nuts. This one weekend alone, it's all going around. So DFS Army is where it's at. Our members actually win. That's how DFS Army is different from other sites where their staff wins. Our members win. It's totally a different thing here. We actually use our tools. Anyway, moving on. Next fight on the card, boys. We have got Shannon Ross taking on Kledson Rodriguez. K-Rod. No one calls him. And Rodriguez is a minus 325 favorite with the comeback on Shannon Ross of plus 265. Ends inside a distance prop is minus 135. Big Marley, tell me about these fighters. How do they stack up?
So Shannon Ross is from Australia, and that's why he's on the card, because he lost on the Contender Series. and he really got his ass kicked. He got destroyed in the first round. He made it through it. He started looking a little bit better, and then he got finished, I believe, in the second or the third round. And I was just not impressed with the guy that was kicking his ass either. I think that Cledson Rodriguez would beat the shit out of that guy. So I'm really mad that I missed like the minus 200 or better line on Rodriguez here. I think whoever got that just got an absolute steal, because I don't know how Shannon Ross wins this fight. I think Shannon probably has the cardio edge. He can go hard for 3 rounds, where in his last fight we saw Rodriguez slow down a little bit, but he still fought through it until the final bell. He was still getting takedowns while he was looking gassed. So I just give Rodriguez the absolute edge anywhere this fight goes. And I doubt that we even see a cardio issue come into play. I think he finishes him early in this fight. I just think he's levels ahead of this guy everywhere. So give me Rodriguez to dominate and get a first round finish.
Monk, I'm not that impressed with either of these guys, but Shannon less than Cledson. But how do you see this one going down in terms of the numbers?
Well, first of all, we've got KR. The nickname battle here is terrible. KR against the Turkish Delight. So just get it. Yeah, no.
You ever have Turkish Delight, by the way? Just you ever have that? You know what that is?
I have not had it. Crypto.com. Like why am I seeing a crypto.com ad right now?
Worshipping FTX.
Yeah, exactly. But I like Rodriguez here, and personally, I want to play an ownership game with this, because I think Rodriguez is going to go way under the radar. He's a lower salary. His money line is up there, but he's a lower salary who lost his last fight. This dude's going to be owned like 30%. You should probably have like 50% of him. I think he's going to roll and finish early.
I like it. And I'm on board too. I think you just, you play Cledson. Man, that line has been moving. I feel like every time I look at this line, it's moved again. even from yesterday until today, it moved. So like this thing just keeps going. Everybody
minus 190. Oh, what would it be like to be on that number?
Goodness. This opener, yeah, that would have been juicy. All right, next up. This is a tough one, guys. Josh Coolibao taking on Milsic Baghdasarian. This is a pick'em fight. I believe it's got a high, goes to the distance, minus 145. This is all numbers, but Big Marley, stylistically, let's start with that. Tell me about these two fighters, Coolibao and Milsic Baghdasarian. What do their styles look like? How's this fight gonna play out?
It feels like I might be right now. Can you guys hear me fine?
Yeah, there you are.
Now we can, yeah.
Every time Marley comes back, he's frozen.
I think Baghdasarian. What's happening? Go ahead, go to Monk.
All right, MonkMMAtics, take us through how this fight should play out.
I think this is going to be a pretty low-scoring affair. I like Baghdasarian. I've been very anxious to see him fight again, because it has been over a year and 3 months since he fought Bruno Souza. So I have been looking forward to him. I mean, Josh Coolibao showed me a lot in his last fight against Sung Woo Choi. That was a very good spot to be on at plus 185. He came into that one at. But Coolibao in his last 5, only 2.13 points a minute and 66.93 per win. Baghdasarian, not much better, 2.83 a minute and only 80.92 over his 2 DraftKings wins. I do not expect a ton of takedown and control time here. I'm expecting this to be more of a stand-up battle. The only way I would want to play one of these guys is if I thought one of them was going to get a knockdown and a possible finish here. Now, both of these guys have a ton. They're what I call power index, which is basically knockdowns per significant strikes landed. Both of them are very good, top 10 on the card for each guy. So a knockdown is not out of the realm of possibilities here. A lot of people want to focus on takedowns and control time when it comes to DraftKings. But honestly, if you look at the history, especially lately, we've seen big punchers. If you can get a knockdown in the first round and follow it up with a quick finish or maybe a second knockdown, your points just grow exponentially with that 10-point knockdown. So I can't X out either of these guys. I'm going to have to play them just for that fact, because it is going to be a stand-up battle in my opinion. But Baghdasarian's cheaper. Baghdasarian's my who I think is going to win, and Baghdasarian has the better DraftKings numbers. So I'm going to be probably over the field on Melsik here, maybe right around the field on Coolibao. I'm expecting him to be, what do you guys think? 20-25%, maybe something like that.
That would be super high in my opinion.
You think so? Yeah,
yeah.
I'm definitely going over on both. So
yeah, that would be super high. 6 strikes per minute for Melsik, only 3 for Coolibao. I mean, there's zero grappling. There is just none of that, and they're both good at takedown defense. This is a fight, Monk, where you hit it right. You need a knockdown and a fast finish. And the odds for that exist. Like, we can look at the number and, a fight ends in round 1, plus 320. Like, this thing, plus 320. You're talking like 20% chance that one of these two guys gets a finish early. That means I got to split it 10% a piece. So I'm not even messing with it. If these guys are going to be anywhere near 20 plus, I'm not touching any of them at all, other than just a little bit of early knockout bonus. I know Big Marley, Monk pretty much covered it, but 2 stand-up strikers. Do you have anything to really add to that one?
I am going to be taking a stand on this one. I like Baghdasarian. I do think he's the one with the ceiling, because this kid is dangerous early in the fight, and I'm picking him to get a first round knockout. So I will be over the field on him. But I think I favor him pretty heavily in round 1, actually, and his kicks are the best part of this fight, in my opinion. It's kind of his kicks against Coolibao's boxing, but Baghdasarian has power in his hands too, and he can just knock this guy out early. We've seen Coolibao cracked a few times already. So I give Baghdasarian a big edge in round 1. I think it gets a little bit closer in round 2, but I'll still favor Baghdasarian. But I either one in a decision knockout potential.
We came in and out there a little bit for us, but I'm assuming, I think I agree. I like Melsik. I'm picking Melsik to win the fight, but I did not bet it. But I like his volume. I like the 7. I just think he's a higher volume striker. And because the fight is supposed to go to decision, I'm going to always lean towards the guy landing six strikes per minute against the guy landing 3. It's just the level of outvoluming, even these ridiculous judges who hand out decisions often based on absolutely nothing that you're seeing. You can't ignore somebody landing double the number of strikes per minute. So that's how I'm kind of treating this one. All right, next up we have an Australian favorite, Tyson Pedro, taking on Modestas Bukauskas. Okay, Pedro is a minus 240 favorite. Scary to lay that chalk against a and the comeback on Bukauskas is plus 200. The fight goes the distance inside the distance, or the fight ends inside the distance prop here is minus 225, which is surprisingly high. And I do have to say, Big Marley, my boy Tyson Pedro has been finishing fights. I almost feel like he's doing it with smoke and mirrors. I don't know how he does it, but he's been finishing fights recently. First round finish, putting up big numbers on DraftKings. We'll get to that with MonkMMAtics in a second. But how do you see this one playing out from a stylistic perspective?
I'm not really sure. I think that it could be a striking match. I don't know. It really depends on Pedro, what he wants to do, because I think he could win a striking match. I think he could get a knockout, possibly win a striking-based decision. But I think his ceiling comes on the ground. If he's able to go out there, get takedowns, he could finish with a submission. He could finish with a knockout. And he could just go out there and rack up takedowns and top control time. So Pedro is the side I'm interested in, because Bukauskas just doesn't do enough minute to minute for him to score well without an early finish. I won't have much Bukauskas exposure at all, I don't think. But at the same time, I don't trust Pedro to go out there and get all the takedowns that I'm wanting him to get. And if he goes out there and looks to strike, he's probably not going to score very well unless he gets a knockout. So this is going to be one where I let the domination station take over and let it do its thing.
Big Mar, I got to ask you this. Has Pedro pulled a little bit of wool over our eyes fighting, Ike Villanuevas of the world and legitimately horrible opponents? He's getting the fast finish, but it's Harry Hunsaker. It's Ike Villanueva, and he's losing to Shogun In 2018, Shogun was already over the hill in 2018. That wasn't like, vintage Shogun. I'm just, Monk, does this guy suck?
I want to say no, but I really do. You're exactly right. He's beaten Harry Hunsucker, arguably the worst fighter in the past few years, especially at least at that, we'll say at light heavyweight. And then the second worst fighter probably in Ike Villanueva. So, I mean, the guy's strength of schedule is not good based on that. He lost to Hua, lost to OSP, which is suspect.
I'll accept OSP a lot quicker than I can accept.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Hua in
loss.
in 2018. Yeah. And then Safarov in 20. Between Hua and Villanueva, Pedro did have, I think, like almost 3 years off, if not more. So I'm not really, I'm going to say he's a different fighter. Now, we don't know that because he's fought Harry Hunsucker and Ike Villanueva. I am picking Pedro to win. I think he can get it done here, but his scoring does not impress me. At 8,900, 13.3x is 118. He put up 102 against the worst fighter at light heavyweight. He only put up 108 against Villanueva. These numbers, while they sound good, might not get it done at that high of a salary in a week where we could see a bunch of high scores. I'm not going to say I like Bukauskas. He was the one that Khalil Roundtree blew his knee out after an oblique kick. So he was out for like 9 months, took 2 fights in like Cage Warriors or CFC. I can't remember where. But he is back now. So it's not like he got cut and then was just brought back. He got cut because Khalil Roundtree exploded his knee with an oblique kick. Don't even go back and watch that. It's terrible to watch. Bukauskas, though, his DraftKings points are not good. 1.5 a minute, 97 in his one win against Andreas Michailidis. Michailidis is not good. He's way better than Harry Hunsucker. He's way better than Ike Villanueva. So I'm going with Pedro for the win, but Bukauskas also has lost to, like I said, Roundtree, which was an injury, Lord Michael Oleksiejczuk, who's not a bad fighter, and then Jimmy Crute, who's not a bad fighter, but also on this card here, a lot of people are picking him to win over Menifield. So I like Pedro to win, but I'm going to be on Bukauskas as one of the few dogs that I actually like at 7,300. I don't like anyone that's cheaper than him, not one fighter. I barely like any fighters that are more expensive than him up until we get to like Melsick. So I do not like dogs on this card. Bukauskas is one that I think, if Pedro's a fraud, I'm hoping Bukauskas is the guy that can show us that. But even saying that out loud makes me feel foolish. So that's kind of how I see this one. I'll have some exposure to both.
These are just those weird situations where it's how do you know? Because
right.
When you're just looking at the competition level, Safarov. Now, the one thing I'd say about Tyson Pedro is he had quality wins early in his career. Mm-hmm. I even think the Paul Craig win was good, and he beat Khalil Roundtree back in the day, and so he had a couple good wins, and it really looked like. So I don't know what he is, and I think that's really the mystery. But he took care of business against Ike and Harry Hunsucker quickly, like he was supposed to. We'll find out. Fuck around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Find out. Fuck around, find out. All right. Let's move on, guy. But that one, by the way, and Big Marley betting side, like, dude, there's no way I'm laying minus 275 chalk on no Tyson Pedro coming off of those 2 wins against those 2 turds. Hell no.
He was like minus 1,000 at some point.
Yeah, in this fight, was like he opened at like minus 1,000.
Yeah.
Michailidis is not that bad. Not Michailidis. This Bukauskas guy, he's a little stiff out there. By the way, we didn't talk that much about Bukauskas. He's an okay fighter. He's a striker. He's a little stiff out there, but hey, he beat Michailidis' ass. So
the story that I've been hearing is, he got cut from the UFC. Why he's even back? It's like, but you're not saying why he got cut though. He didn't have a great record, but still, like, we're giving guys with 4 fights, 4 losses. Who fought? Kyle Nelson has 4 out of his 5 losses, and he got a fight last week. So what are we giving Bukauskas shit about?
Yeah, and Bukauskas has a win. I don't know. All right, let's move on. All right, next up we've got Jimmy Crute taking on Lonzo Menifield, and this is for me a little striker. This is a weird one. It's a really weird one. I can't wait to hear you guys break it down. So Crute is coming in at minus 185 as the favorite. The comeback on Menifield is plus 160. Let's see where they are. Fight ends inside the distance. A massive, mind-blowing minus 435. Okay, that's a little bit surprising. Should have looked at that before the show. little bit surprised. Big Marley, stylistically, I'm going to bring up the stats for this one in a second, but stylistically, how do you see this one going down? There's a Crute, wrestler, grapple. What's going on here?
Well, Crute's well-rounded. He could do it all. I would say he's best on the ground, though. But if we're turning knockouts off, I would pick Crute to win a striking match against Menifield. It's just that he is going to be live to get knocked out at every second that this fight is standing, more so early in the fight, though. I just think that it's knockout or bust for Menifield and probably first or second round because, as I mentioned, I think Crute's the better overall striker, but it would be very smart of Crute to look for takedowns here where Menifield will have nothing to offer off his back, and Crute can just completely dominate the fight.
Can he get a takedown? So Menifield showing 85% take. He's really good. Like his takedown defense, you got to give some props to Alonzo Menifield. He's got a pretty good takedown defense. Like he can stop those takedowns. Can he stop the takedowns from Jimmy Crute?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The fight with Crute and Oleg Jacek, that fight, I was like, oh my God, Crute is a future possible title contender. If he just goes out there and fights like that every time, he could beat almost anybody in the division. And I think he would just destroy Menifield if he wants to go out there and do that. And I think his takedowns looked great in that fight. I think he would get takedowns when he wants them here. But when he fights Anthony Smith, he didn't go for the takedowns. If he went for the takedowns, he would have won that fight. But he's getting jabbed in the face the entire time. Smith kicks out his leg, and he has to get TKO'd or whatever it is because of his leg issue. So if I was his coach or if I was playing him on a video game there, I would have been going for takedowns early in that first round. I would have dominated that fight.
There's a takedown.
So that's my issue is here. I just don't know what Crute wants to do. But he is going to be one of my favorite plays on the slate because of what I think he should do, which gets me burned a lot. But at the same time, I just want this fight in almost every lineup I build. Menifield has 125-point upside. He can get a 60-second knockout in this one. So I have to have some Menifield as well. I think Menifield and Prado are pretty much the same play, to be honest with you. You're just hoping to get that first-round knockout from either one of them as an underdog, put them on the optimal lineup. So I'll just be mixing them both into lineups. I just happen to like Crute more than I like Malarkey. So I'll be heavy on Crute here.
Monk, how do you see the how do the numbers come together? Can Crute take down the 85% takedown defense? Can he get past that defense of Menifield? Because the last thing I want to do if I'm betting on a fight is have them standing with Alonzo Menifield, who throws bombs and will knock you the fuck out.
Yeah, that's true. Although Ed Herman didn't seem to have too much of a problem with that. Went to unanimous decision there. Same with William Knight. Not too many takedowns in that one. I can't figure out Alonzo Menifield, man. Dude is built like a brick shit house. He looks like he should be extremely athletic, and yet he has next to no cardio, it seems like, and just doesn't do what you expect him to do in the cage. Like I don't know if he's abandoning game plans or if he's just like doing his own, like everything just shuts off when he gets in there. I have no idea. Jimmy Crute, I don't know what to think. His Draftkings upside is crazy high. 8 points a minute in his last 5 fights, in which he is only 2-3, but still 8 points a minute is insane. 128 per win. In his UFC career, it's 112. So huge upside for Jimmy Crute here. He also gives up a ton of points in his last three UFC losses. 3.5 a minute, 114 per loss is what he's giving up. Meanwhile, Menifield, when he loses, is only giving up 78, 79 points. Strength of schedule is terrible for Menifield his last 5. Serkinov, best fighter he's fought. Mozarov, who was a complete fraud. William Knight, Ed Herman, who is like basically retired. And then the water buffalo, Fabio Charant. So I don't know what to think about Menifield here. I don't know what to think about Crute here. His only 2 wins in his last 5. One was against Lord Michael, in which Marley alluded to 8 takedowns. The other was to Modestas Bukauskas, who's also on this card, who a lot of people are hating on this week. Long story short, I'm going to play this fight. I think it has huge Draftkings upside. It's probably the second biggest fight I'm targeting. At least my stats say that it's the second biggest fight I should be targeting overall due to the round 1 upside. And finish rates and whatnot. So I guess, man, I'm picking Menifield, but if this hits the ground at all, I'm immediately regretting that, and I'm going Crute. But Crute's also been off for over a year. I didn't like what I saw in his past 2 fights. I don't know what to do about these guys. I guess I'm going to pick the dog because I don't like any dogs this week at all.
Yeah, I think if you're playing DraftKings, you literally have to have some Menifield. It's that simple.
Yep.
You have to, because he's got that finishing power. and because the odds on the fight. I will say, Monk and Marley, that I like the over. I like the plus 325 fight goes to distance prop here.
Yeah.
To me, minus 430, just an overreaction. I don't buy it. I don't buy that, 8 times out of 10, this fight ends inside. I just don't buy it. I don't buy it, Big Marley.
I don't know,
don't
man. I think the line goes up a little bit, to be honest.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Probably.
Because you always think that Menifield, he's a knockout, or Jimmy Crute. It's going to be these two knuckleheads dancing around, Crute going for takedowns, Menifield stuffing takedowns. And
I don't see that as being the case, and I just think it takes one takedown for Crute to finish this fight.
That part, yes.
Probably.
Can he get the takedown, though?
Yeah, I think he can, man. He looked like he's possibly the best wrestler in the division against Oleg Jacek. He just doesn't. That was just the only time he's done that.
I loved him after that, and then then the hype died out. I was with you. I was like, this guy
fell off a freaking.
I will always bet on this guy.
Yeah, I was very low on Crute until that fight. And then I was like, oh my god, that's what I love to see right there. This is my new guy. And then he's been losing me money since.
Yeah, and now, all right. So next up, and this is another one. It's funny. This card is wild with how it's a pay-per-view.
I can't believe this is on the main card.
And Parker Porter is going up against Justin Tafa on the main card.
Insane.
Plus 105. Okay. Tafa is favored somehow in this fight, which also is bizarre for me. I don't really get that either. You would think that Parker Porter would be favored here, but it's Tafa. Okay. Fight goes to ends inside the distance, a solid minus 180. So Big Marley, once again, stylistically, how does this fight match up? I think we got a striker versus a little bit of a more well-rounded guy in Porter, with Tafa being sort of exclusively a striker.
Yeah. Tafa's going to need to keep this fight on the feet. I think he can hang skill-wise. They're pretty close, I would say, skill-wise. If it's a 15-minute striking decision, I don't know who the hell's going to win, to be honest with you. I would give the edge to Porter. But Tafa's much more dangerous in the fight. He's got more 100-point upside with the first round knockout, I would say. But then on the Porter side, he puts up solid volume on the feet. It's just we probably want him to go for takedowns in this matchup, not only to keep him conscious, but that's probably where most of his points would come from. Because if he can get on top of Tafa, I just don't think Tafa can really do anything. And Parker can just land those little shots throughout the fight and rack up points as it goes along. I would have flipped the line on this one. I'd slightly favor Porter, but it was so close. I was going back and forth on my pick. I was like, this is 50-50. I'm picking the underdog. I don't care. So I just went with Porter for that reason. Zero confidence, but I will be heavier on him, I would say, for his wrestling upside. But it's a fight we should be targeting because they're heavyweights. They both have 100-point upside. And I don't think that it'll be too highly owned either because neither one of them has a big name. I'd say they're mostly fades for people in general. So I might like it just on both sides as an ownership aspect as well.
There's that ground and pound from Parker Porter right there. If you're seeing this in the fight, MonkMMAtics, you're thinking, okay, all right, this is what I'm paying for here. This is what I was looking for.
Yeah, I'm thinking I just cashed a nice underdog because I am with Marley here. I think these salaries and odds, this line should be flipped. I'm favoring Porter here. Plus, he's got the better DraftKings upside. Tafa he is averaging 104 in his past 2 wins. Again, one of them was Harry freaking Hunsucker, and the other one was Juan Adams. I dare you to find either of those 2 guys in the UFC.
I thought Parker Porter had beaten the worst heavyweights in the UFC until you mentioned Juan Adams and Harry Hunsucker fighting.
Mm-hmm. And it's not even like Parisian, Sherman, and maybe Badeau belongs down with Hunsucker, but Parisian and Sherman are probably levels above Hunsucker.
Chase is that like, if you can beat me, you could be the worst guy in the UFC instead of me. He's the gatekeeper for like the worst heavyweight. You got to be able to beat Chase Sherman. I think Tafa loses to Chase Sherman, and Porter already beat him.
I agree, and that's why I'm playing it like I am. I want to play ownerships on this one because off the top of my head, I'm not interested. I think this probably goes to decision. I think Marley's right. Porter's probably going to land a takedown. If he lands one takedown, like say in like the first or second minute, I mean, what's going to stop him from just laying on Tafa for the remainder of the round, dropping a little ground and pound, and probably not finishing the fight, and it just rinse and repeat that for 3 rounds. I mean, will that score well? Probably not. Will it score well enough to put 7,800 on the optimal lineup? Possibly. I mean, all he needs a 13x at 7,800 is 104. That is not out of the realm of possibility here. I'm just not excited for this one. Porter's 37 years old, Tafa 29. I don't think that's going to play much into this fight, but it is something that should be considered. I believe the younger fighters win 58% of the time over the older fighters, so that is something to think about. I'm picking Porter. I'll probably be over the field to him. It pains me to say that. I don't really like Tafa. Short of a flash knockout, I don't know how he's going to win.
Got to play
It's
those
a good
underdogs.
fight for the domination station. Let it take over.
100%.
Your 150 lineups or whatever it is and get whatever exposure to both sides.
Absolutely.
Let these take the wheel, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Next up, we've got Randy Brown taking on Jack Della Madonna. Randy Brown, a plus 270
Their faces
underdog.
look about the same. Maddalena and Madonna. Did you see her? They look about the same nowadays.
Yeah. Well, after the fight, when Maddalena's face is all puffed up,
yeah,
he looks like the new Madonna pictures. Randy Brown plus 270. I can't even say this man's name. The Della, it's like a tongue twister. I could say freaking Russian things and whatever. This guy's name always messes me up. Della Maddalena minus 330.
Nailed it.
The fight ends inside the distance. Prop is a decent minus 160. So Big Marley, stylistically, how does this one play out? Because Randy Brown is a pretty good prospect. All of a sudden, he's a minus 270 or plus 270 underdog here. That means JDM well respected by the sports books.
Yeah, too much so, I would say. I'm a big fan of Jack Della Maddalena. I think this kid's really good. But this is too wide of a line, in my opinion, because Randy Brown's really good, too. He's shown a lot of improvements over the recent years. Both guys are very well-rounded, so I don't see a huge edge for Maddalena anywhere. I would give him the edge everywhere, but it just wouldn't shock me to see Randy Brown go out there, get a takedown in 1 or 2 rounds, and possibly win on the ground, use his length, win the striking. But I definitely give Jack Della Maddalena the edge in power and chin durability. I mean, we saw Randy Brown get knocked out from a guy laying on his back, and Jack Della Maddalena can crack. So I am picking Maddalena to get another TKO here, and I like him on DraftKings for that reason. But if he doesn't get a TKO, I just don't see him making the optimal lineup because Randy Brown is a good fighter, and I don't see him getting dominated, minute to minute in this fight. So I don't know. I guess I'll wait to see what ownership looks like on Maddalena. I have a feeling he'll be higher than I would like to get to, so I'll be underweight on both sides. But I'm not against, 10, 15% Randy Brown just because this line should be closer than it is. If he's able to win, I would imagine he puts up 10x or more. So it's just a fight that I'll probably get, 15% on each side.
Yeah. MonkMMAtics, JDM heavy favorite, expensive fighter. Doesn't do a whole lot outside of knocking people out. That's going to score extremely well on this card. What do you say?
Yeah, but that one thing he does scores very, very well and could score very well on this card as well. I'm on JDM big time. I like Brown. He's 6'3", 78-inch reach. Those tools are going to be tough to overcome for Jack Della Maddalena. But Maddalena, I named him as my best welterweight as far as DFS goes in all of 2022. Best overall welterweight in all of 22 based on several numbers. Mostly, I mean, his DraftKings points per minute is 9 points a minute, and he's only has 8.9 minutes in the UFC cage, but still, that's ridiculous. Scores 116 per win. His average value is 13. His average value will put him on the optimal lineup. He's outscoring his opponents by 6.6 points per minute. Randy Brown in his he lost to Vicente Luque, gave up 119.98. Overall, in his 4 losses, he gives up 100 points, over 100 points. I think this is going to be a stand-up fight. Randy Brown in his last 5 is averaging 0.09 points in takedowns per minute, which is next to nothing. So I'm thinking Maddalena gets it done here. This is what I was talking about earlier, guys. If you can land a knockdown and then the guy gets back up, and you can land another one right after that and then finish the fight in the first or second round, you're going to score out of this world. There's 2 or 3 guys that are higher priced than Jack Della Maddalena this week. He's only 200 over his average of 9,000. I absolutely love Maddalena this week. I think he gets it done early, and I am hoping he makes it on the optimal lineup. He's been 2 out of his past 3 fights. I'm thinking he makes it 3 out of his past 4 after this fight against Brown. Yes, Brown could absolutely hit him from a, keep him at distance. But I think Maddalena, his footwork's too good. His boxing skills are overall too good. Honestly, I think this ends with a pretty nice left hook, and Maddalena makes optimal at 9,200. That's why I'm looking to play it.
Yeah, I mean,
might have upped my exposure a little bit there.
Yeah, I mean, you got me excited. Obviously Maddalena has finished all 3 opponents in the first round.
The only thing that worries, it's only 9 minutes of cage time. That's the only thing that worries me. We haven't seen him get truly tested yet.
But Ramzan and me, I mean, these opponents
Amir is a decent name. Roberts is an okay name. Pete Rodriguez, not so much, but
decent opponents. I would only caution with this one fight that if he doesn't do the fast knockout, there's a lot of other sexy options in the 9K range. And so you're giving up one to play the other one. And so you just got to mix it up a little bit. But he needs that first round finish probably to outscore to outscore some of these other 9K options. The Jack Jenkins of the world.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for me to get off of the Maddalena Makachev combo this week. It's going to be real hard for me to get away from that.
I'm curious to see if it's going to be chalky. I don't know. I don't know that Maddalena will be highly owned. I have no idea if he'll be highly owned. We know Islam's going to be fairly well owned. But I don't know about Della Madonna. So Madonna, whatever the hell his name is. All right. Now we get to the co-main event of the evening. Josh Emmett taking on Yair Rodriguez. Emmett, a plus 135 underdog. Rodriguez coming back at minus 155. This is a 3-rounder fight. Wait a minute. Hold up. A 5-round fight? Excuse me?
This is for the interim featherweight belt.
What? Hold up. Turn it around, because now we have a fight. We have 5 rounds of action, effectively a heavy exposure fight. And I want some numbers on this, MonkMMAtics. How often does a 5-rounder show up in that nuts lineup? What level of difference does it make those extra 2 rounds? Curious.
It makes a little bit of a difference. 109 5-round fights since the beginning of 2021, made optimal 65 times. That is just under 60%. And same with title fights, 59.5% for title fights.
And interestingly, a lot of times those fights have massive price tags on them. Yep. I would like to get a secondary number. You give me that same 5-round fight, and it's a $7,500 to $8,500 price tag or below, where you're getting those 2 fighters without having to pay $9K. Because I suspect that a lot of the times of that 40% that it doesn't make it, that's that $9,600 guy.
Oh yeah.
That 90. Now we get 2 fighters fighting 5 rounds for cheap. And I like it. Sure. Big Marley, stylistically, Yair Rodriguez, Josh Emmett, feels like a couple strikers going mano a mano here.
Yeah, pretty much. Emmett can wrestle as well, though. I would like him to wrestle more if it was a 3-round fight. I don't trust him to wrestle in a 5-round fight, because I think that would slow him down. And I've been hearing he's got some hip injury coming into this. If that's true, we probably won't see him wrestle as much. But he knocks everybody down. This guy has serious power, and he could go out there and get a knockout in any round. It could be him losing 4 rounds, he comes back and get it in the 5th round. I mean, he just has that type of one punch kill you power. So I definitely have to like Emmett as an underdog who can not only get there with the KO, he can, with 5 rounds, he can put up 10x in a decision, even if he is striking. But if he's going out there landing, 3 to 5 takedowns throughout that decision.
And that's just how I see that. If he doesn't land that one kill shot, you know what I mean? Then Emmett will simply get outstruck for 5 rounds. And that'll be that. He'll shoot a couple takedowns early, realize that his injury hurts too much, and then he won't shoot takedowns anymore. The only interesting thing is what I call salary voodoo here. $7,700 is one of the best salaries to play, not just for underdog. I mean, overall, it is the third best salary to play. It is tied with 8,600 as the salary that's made the optimal more times than any other salary in the past 2 years. It is a 35% optimal rate, which means 35% of the time 7,700 is played, it makes the optimal lineup. Its average ownership is 24%. We're under owned to that by almost 11%. So I'm torn here. I mean, Emmett's numbers are not great for DraftKings, but the salary, everything about $7,700 salary says to play it. So I will have some of the underdog salary here. He only scores 86 points a minute. Yair, or 86 points per win. Yair only scores 95 per win. In a 5-round fight, you have to assume it's going to be a bit more than that. But if this goes to decision, this is not a guaranteed optimal for either guy, in my opinion. If it goes to decision, I'd prefer to have Rodriguez because I think he's going to win and score better. But man, Rodriguez never been knocked down in the UFC. But if anybody could do it, I mean, it might as well be Emmett here. But it's going to be tough. Rodriguez has a 5-inch height advantage. I'm picking Rodriguez, but I like Emmett more for DraftKings, I think.
You know, I'm just going to say this. Calvin Kattar is a better striker than Yair Rodriguez.
Better boxer.
Yeah, better
boxer.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Now, I thought he beat Josh Emmett in that fight, but
Yep.
but whatever. Emmett got the W against Calvin Kattar. This kid can fight. I think he's getting disrespected here. Just the fact that he's an underdog. Win or lose, I think Emmett's getting a little bit disrespected coming off of that win. And, you know, the Ortega win for Yair was an injury. I don't buy it. Right, I don't buy the win. The
time he's made the optimal lineup is that. I was going to say that. It was the injury to
that was an
Ortega.
Injury. He didn't win that fight. Like, he didn't actually win that fight.
Yeah, we didn't get to see it even start, really.
I bet heavy on Ortega. I was very upset.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Actually, I thought that was one of my favorite bets of all time going into it.
Banger.
Oh, man. Big Marley. Did you bet on Ortega that fight against Yair? He hurt the shoulder. I was like, this is not happening.
I bet I did. Yeah. I think I did.
Like, this can't be happening.
Or I bet on Ortega. That is not.
Yeah. It was all over Ortega. I loved him there. Anyway, I don't know. I feel like Yair Rodriguez, where's the win that tells me he's all that good? I get it. He's exciting in the ring, but the wins are better for Emmett. He's got to win against Calvin Kattar. Kattar's really, really good.
Zombie, but he was losing to Zombie until he wasn't. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, Jeremy Stevens, when Stevens was on his way out, like,
well, I would say his loss to Holloway, where he scored 81 and a loss.
Yeah. Yep.
That's fair. He did great. But I also, that was like during Holloway's, Holloway lets you go 5 rounds. Like,
Rodriguez landed 159 and he got outlanded by 70 strikes.
Yeah, it was like he got an ass kicking. I don't know. I'm sorry. My pick is Josh Emmett to win this fight. That's my preferred side. That's the pick for me. And I don't even think you need Yair Rodriguez. I know he's fighting 5 rounds, but that dude don't throw enough volume. Again, let me just pull the stats up here. But like, this guy does not throw at 4 strikes per minute, 4.25, even over 5 rounds. You know, if you're not finishing Josh Emmett, again, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 22, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 110 strikes, it's 40 points, 30 for the decision. It's just the numbers are not adding up to anything here for me on Yair's side. I don't think he gets a finish. I think Josh Emmett can get 3 knockdowns along the way if he's winning the fight.
That would be huge.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he does, right? He knocks people down. So, all right, main event time, guys. I did not even know going into this, by the way, that was 5 rounds until I clicked that button. So how the hell are these guys, the interim lightweight? What is happening?
I don't know what.
Why is it Emmett and Rodriguez? These are not names that I would think.
Just name the winner, the number 1 contender to fight Volk, no matter what happens in the Volk fight. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, like, let him keep his fucking belt.
I had to re-record one of my shows earlier this week because I was like, wait, what? This is an interim freaking belt? And then I was like, oh, I got to stop recording now.
This is just UFC finding a reason to justify what otherwise, outside of the main event is a pretty soft looking pay-per-view.
Tafa on the main card.
I mean, it's just a soft looking pay-per-view. Where the hell's my boy Whitaker? What the hell's his name?
Rob.
Yeah, where's my other Aussies on the card? What's going on here?
Where's Blood Diamond? I'm just kidding.
Blood Diamond is awesome.
That's how you sell tickets.
What's his name? The heavyweight.
Tuivasa.
Yeah, everybody loves
Yeah.
Tui. How are you going to go to Australia and Tui's not on the card?
That is a damn good question, actually.
What the hell is happening here? They think Tafa. I think the UFC mistook Tafa for Tui.
Maybe
Well, they can't even remember Islam's name, so that could have happened.
It might be it. All right. Speaking of the main event, Islam Makhachev taking on Alexander Volkanovski. Alexander Volkanovski, a minus 315, a plus 3. Why do I keep saying this backwards? A plus 315 underdog. Islam coming in at minus 380, a heavy favorite. And this is a 5-rounder, and the fight goes to decision. Plus 110, ends inside the distance, minus 140. So about even odds that this thing goes all 5 rounds. I'm going to pull up the stats on these two fighters. I think it's important. Volk is the GOAT, but he's moving up in weight class. And I'm sorry, but if these guys were the same weight class, this discrepancy in the odds seems absolutely absurd to me. Everybody's like, no, you're wrong, Kev. It should be like this. And I've been told that now 5 different times with 5 different people. I still don't believe it. Like, how much domination could anybody do against Alexander Volkanovski, who is not a normal human? He's just not a normal human. Volk landing almost 7 strikes per minute to just 2, right? For Islam. Islam, what is he going to do? He wants to go for takedowns, and he wants to wrestle you. Volk, decent takedown defense. So 73%. So with that backdrop, Big Marley, is it a size thing? Do we think Islam's just bigger than him, so he's going to be able to power these takedowns? Because if they're standing and striking, I'm sorry, but Volkanovski is the better striker here and much higher volume.
Yeah, better striker, great wrestler. It's just that he's 10 pounds lighter against the best wrestler in the game. The one thing that Islam is good at, he's just so good at that he's going to beat everybody doing that one thing. And unless Volkanovski can go out there and get a knockout, I just don't know how he's going to stuff takedowns throughout the course of 25 minutes to win on the scorecards. I don't see him submitting Islam. So it's knockout or bust, even though Volkanovski's the better overall fighter. I mean, if somehow he can't go out there and stuff takedowns, then Islam's probably in trouble. Like, if he's just trying to chain wrestling and it's not working out, he's probably going to run himself into a big punch at some point. I mean, we'll never see Volkanovski at this price tag again. So I'm willing to take some shots here, but it's just hard to see him getting the win here. Islam's too big, too good at getting the fight to the ground. I think he's going to have a lot of success doing that, and I think he probably gets a submission halfway through the fight, 3rd round, 4th round, something like that, and probably scores 110-plus points like he usually does. So I prefer Islam here. I'm not going to play cash, I'm sure, but even if I did, I doubt I would stack it. I don't see both sides of this fight scoring well. I think it's the winner is going to score well, and I'm picking that to be Islam.
You think if Khabib was still fighting and he had to go up against Islam, now obviously, who knows, but if they had to fight each other, you think Islam is the better grappler, wrestler, takedown guy than Khabib? Your MonkMMAtics nodding yes. That is mind-blowing.
Yes. I think his body lock is next to none, and the body lock trip combination is literally unstoppable.
I don't know. I mean, that's how Khabib was too. I'd take Khabib. I mean, a prime Khabib, as long as he's not fat, like he is now. I would take a prime Khabib. But he's the same thing. He is Khabib.
We're arguing steak and lobster here. There's no wrong answer.
Yeah, true.
That's fair. That's fair. So, I just want to get a sense of what level the thought is on Islam that he if this is Khabib 2.0 and no one can beat him, even Volkanovski. No one can beat this guy. If that's, we're about to find out.
Yeah, for sure.
So how do you see this one going down, Monk?
Yeah, I agree. Volk is one of my favorite fighters, and if he wins this, he will probably be the GOAT. Right now, I think he's probably the greatest at featherweight. I mean, this fights like these are almost overloading to a stat boy like me. Like when we had Kamaru and Colby, like The stats were so insane. I didn't even know what to do. Makachev scores almost 5 points a minute, 109 points per win. Volk scores 3.6 points a minute, 115 per win. Average value for Volkanovski, the dude who's been fighting the best of the best, average value per win in his last 5 is over 14. 14.13x is what he's averaging. And he's $2,000 under his average salary this week. $2,000 under. Makhachev's average value is almost 12. So these guys are ridiculous. Makachev scores over 2.25 points a minute. Takedowns and control time. Volkanovski gives up 0.1 points a minute in those categories. Like, we're finally going to see, two immovable objects come together here. I think the size, and yes, Volkanovski, we all know he used to play rugby. He used to look like the girl from Willy Wonka. He used to be like as big as me, pretty much. But that's not the case now. The dude is shredded at 145, but Makachev is just so much bigger, 4 inches taller. He does not have the reach advantage, though. Volkanovski somehow has the 1 inch longer reach, which is interesting. I think Makachev, the body lock takedown is going to be too much. I think he can rinse and repeat that, because I think Volk can and will get up, which is just going to mean an insane amount of points in takedowns and control. 5 points, takedown, 5 points, 5 points, 5 points. We can get that going in this fight. Makachev could score, like you said, 110, 120. I'll finish it up with this. I said 77, or I said 96 was a terrible salary to play. It's too expensive to make optimal. Short yourself $100, go to 95. We're now looking at the best overall salary to play, but just by $100 difference. It's been used 36 times, made optimal 17. That's 47% of the time it makes optimal lineup, almost 50%. The salary has a 91.67% win rate. Its average ownership is only 39%, which means we can find 9% leverage on average to the salary. I'm putting Makachev in a ton of lineups. I'll have 100% of this fight, probably 80-20. Makachev Volkanovski is how I see it, and I'm picking Makachev to win. Like Marley said, probably submission, maybe ground and pound, TKO, second to third round.
I like it. Listen, I agree with you guys. I think Makachev is rightfully the favorite, but I'm going to warn 2 things. Number 1, don't count out the GOAT. Don't count the GOAT out, because Volk is no joke, and he comes in and all of a sudden he knows how to stop takedowns and he'll be amazing at it. This is just Volk. He prepares for his opponent. So,
I'll be rooting for Volkanovski. I mean, unless I really need Islam for my DraftKings lineups, I'll be rooting for Volkanovski.
Volk has made optimal in 3 out of his past 3 fights. To do that 4 times, only like 4 other people have done it. Like Petrosky, Almeida just did it, Casey O'Neill, and I forget the other one. But Volk could become just the 5th UFC fighter to make 4 in a row.
It's got to be my boy Merab Dawashvili. As long as you get that Dobson fight out of there.
Yeah.
If you could just pluck that one out of the statistics, right, then that's my guy. But yeah, so I don't know here. And the other thing is, I would say with Islam, I've at 90, even at 95, I just feel like with 5 rounds, there's probably enough time there for him to get it done. Just points wise, is even in the decision. I could see this fight absolutely going to decision. It's just how many takedowns does he need to get along the way for this to get to that 115 point threshold? Probably needs like 5.
If he lands 3 in the first couple rounds, he might get 10. If it goes all 5, it might just Volk pops up. It could look what Sergey Spivak did to Derek Lewis. And I'm not saying that's a very different subject, but I'm saying instead of it happening in 3 minutes, it happens in 25 minutes. That's going to be a lot of points.
Yeah.
If you don't want to strike with somebody, you're going for more takedowns. So
yep.
Makes sense.
Yeah, should be an interesting one. Fun fight. You got to watch, a fun card. We got to stay up till the end. All right, guys, great stuff. So let's get to the kill shot portion of the show. And by the way, we are doing a kill shot competition over in DFS Army now. We got some of the MMA regulars in the MMA Discord channel kind of participating as well. And we're all going to kind of give our favorite underdog play of each card. So this hopefully low-owned underdog play, and that's what we call a kill shot. And if you can nail those, I don't know, we got a competition going. Anyway, should be fun. But
for sure,
if you want to be a part of DFS Army, you want to be in that Discord. You want to be talking to MonkMMAtics and Big Marley and the whole crew and Eric and all of them. You got to sign up for DFS Army as a VIP or as a MMA specific subscriber. Promo code Sleeveless gets you in there 10% off. So check it out. Of course, we got the Domination Station Optimizer projections for all sports. We're crushing everything. NASCAR season just started. Monk, you have no idea. You got to get in the NASCAR channel too.
Yeah,
I know it's the weekend. I know MMA happens, but then it's Sunday.
Yeah,
we got
that's
Daytona.
true.
And then NASCAR channel, we crush it. It is by far our best sport. So make sure to check that out. But kill shot time, boys. And let's get our favorite underdogs on the card. So I'll start with you, Monk. Who do you like? Who's your kill shot for this week?
Man, well, I've been going really low lately. I kind of want to do, man, I'm not going to take the easy one. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to give you Modestas Bukauskas at 7,300. He's going to be extremely low owned. We don't, like we said, Tyson Pedro has been knocking out frauds. If Bukauskas can make it longer than like 2 or 3 minutes, get out of the first round, I think he has an okay chance. I'm picking Pedro, but as far as a kill shot, somebody that could be a real disruptor, it's Bukauskas for sure.
I love that as a kill shot, by the way. And that will be a low-owned fighter that has a shot to go off. So really good. Big Marley, who you at? Where you at?
I have two if you want to go first, Geek.
I've got a couple also. So I'm going to go. I'll go with Blake Builder as my kill shot. I like that he wins all his fights by submission. I like that Shane Young doesn't have much grappling. I think those two things come together like this to form a win for the newcomer at low ownership. Blake Builder. But I got about 3 other underdogs that I like. So I had a few.
Well, I'll go Francisco Prado, first round knockout.
That is another really solid kill shot. Low owned. Love it. So, I'm just going to mention, the underdogs I like just generally are, I would add Josh Emmett and Parker Porter and even Alonzo Menifield to that mix of underdogs.
I was going to cheat and go Melsick at 8K.
That's my other one, yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit of a cheat. That's a bit,
but yeah, exactly.
It's a bit of a cheat on the underdog side. So, all right, really good stuff. Great show, guys. UFC 284, Makachev versus Volkanovski. Good luck to everybody. We will see you on top of the leaderboards. Take care.